It's so wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to see everybody at such a weird time of day. And it's so incredibly appreciated. This is a very important conversation we're going to have. So I want to begin by asking you this following riddle, okay? What does a 5 times national marathon champion and elite runner who's featured in her own Adidas ad have in common with an internet sensation dancing queen who's a content creator who's called Challah Mom? And while we're at it, what does an on-air network news reporter and TV show host from Canada have in common with a young Israeli mom, graphic designer, social media influencer who gives her online community opportunities to make a difference and amplifies the sheroes and the heroes and the soldiers and has a food truck? What do they have in common? Well, that's actually very easy because they're Jewish moms just like us, and they have earned, as far as I'm concerned, the status of modern day Jewish queens, stepping into royalty like modern day Queen Esther's. And they've done so by highlighting their Jewish pride and passion as part of their personal brands, and by advocating and speaking up and showing up for the Jewish people and for Israel. So Purim is on the horizon, and we at Momentum wanted to amplify the heroine of that story, Queen Esther. She was born with the Jewish name Hadassah, but when she was taken, literally stolen from her home, along with many other young maidens, as a potential replacement for King Ahasuerus' banished queen, whose name was Vashti, she was told never to speak of her Jewish identity and to only use her Persian name, which was Esther. So when Esther was ultimately chosen as the new queen, she stepped into her royalty with her identity and her truest self hidden. And when the evil Haman rose to power, his personal hatred for a Jewish man, Esther's uncle, some say husband, Mordechai, led to a decision to annihilate the Jewish people. And lots were cast. That's, by the way, where the name Purim comes from. A pur is a lot, like a roll of the dice. And a date was chosen for our destruction. So eventually Mordechai sends a message to Esther, and he tells her that the time has come for her to stand up and be counted, tell her husband exactly who she and her family are, and to remind her that she and her family are not going to remain safe and protected, even though she's in a palace and at great danger to herself. And despite genuine fear and danger, she uses her wisdom, her faith, and her intellect to foil the plot and save our people. Well, the women you're meeting today, they don't hide in their palaces either, nor do they suffer the delusion that anything is a palace you can hide in. They face similar risks and potential danger, but they have amplified their voices and their identities. What I want right now is for you to take a look at them in their elements.
For all the times that you rain on my parade, and all the clubs you get in using my name. You think you broke my heart, oh girl, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying on my own, well I ain't. And I didn't wanna write a song, cause I didn't want anyone thinking I still care or don't. But you still hit my phone up, and baby, I'll be moving on. And I think it should be something I don't wanna hold back. Maybe you should know that my mama don't like you, and she likes everyone. And I never like to admit that I was wrong. And I've been so caught up in my job, didn't see what's going on. But now I know I'm better sleeping on my own. Cause if you like the way you look that much, oh baby, you should go and love yourself.
In my conviction, I know what is true, and I know the rest of the world is wrong. And it doesn't matter what the media covers or propagates. The world will eventually get it right, but before it does, I implore every single one of you, we must We must use our voices. We have to get louder, and we cannot stop until every single one of our beautiful souls are brought home. So our task is clear. We must inspire our children. We have to tell them, stand tall, speak out, embrace your Jewishness. Tell them their voices are their most potent weapons. Their Jewishness is their most beautiful treasure. Tell them this over and over again. Let us empower them to be prouder and louder, be vocal, and be unapologetically Jewish. There will always be those that are motivated by hate and the mob mentality. But we are driven by something much different. A force that is rooted in love of family, in love of community, and our commitment to Israel. So please, let's say it again, and again, and again. Israel is not going anywhere. And you know what? Our Jewish children are not going anywhere.
The guy who came running over to me at the finish line with his wife and wanted to know, what's harder, running a marathon or giving birth? Here's what I want to tell you. Motherhood is the hardest marathon I'll ever run. And if you're a mother, it means running a marathon every single day. So to all the moms out there struggling through the chaos, I hope you know that you are the real champions. Wear your medals with pride because you're mamas.
בואי נראה אם יש קולה. תראי מה מצאתי.
Home front command. Look where it came out. Right where the prediction is called. And here.
This is just a bit too small for us. This is the baby. Is she gorgeous?
You know what? So many hours have I spent following these incredible women on their social media, watching and learning and gaining from them. Please help me, join me in welcoming these four queens, Anat, the Challah mom, and Beatie Deutsch, the marathon mom, and the fabulous Hadassah Goldberg, and my darling Dana Levenson. Ladies, are we there? Are we all there?
Yeah,
wait,
all here.
There you are. Hello. Oh my gosh. You know, I am so bloody honored to have this opportunity. You make my heart swell. And I think I wanted all of our Momentum community to meet you, to be able to see you and hear from you. We follow you, heaven knows, millions of people do. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that, but you understand at your essence who you are and how you have stepped into the palace the way you have. It's so thrilling for all of us. On behalf of all of the 500 people who signed up for this, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for giving us your time. It's 10 o'clock in Israel. So I'm going to begin, because I can, with some questions. And what I'll do is I'll throw it over to somebody, and then I'll let that person answer it, and then I'll open it to you guys to weigh in, because there's a bunch of things I want to cover, and I'm hoping that this will be a good way to do it. So I'm going to begin. I think I'll begin with Chalamam, or Anat, as I like to think of her. Okay, so being a Jewish influencer, which you certainly are, has its risks in today's rising climate of anti-Semitic sentiment and so on. I guess what I want to know is how you're dealing with, and sometimes I go on your page and I see like, there's 150,000 people following you, and like it seems like they're piling on with negative comments that would break my heart, comments that feel threatening, which is why I chose the reel that I showed of you, your response to them. I want to know how you cope with it. How do you address it? How does the Queen Esther in you carry herself through it?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for bringing me on to this momentum boost. And thank you to all of you watching from around the world. I see some familiar faces and some new ones. I think as I was reflecting upon this question that you were asking, it reminded me of something that I heard a long time ago, which is empowerment and self-empowerment. It's an inside-out job. I
Hmm.
don't look for external validation for someone to approve my Jewishness, approve my Jewish decisions, approve the way I live my Jewish life. I've come to the point where I no longer betray myself. I've come to the point where I have self-actualized and I hope am living the truth of who I'm meant to be. So I always tell people I was raised by Russian Israeli immigrants. Those are pretty tough people. I think I had a pretty good training ground, some resistance training, as you would call it, in my younger years. So by the time that I started to grow my account and started to receive some of the backlash, some of the negative comments, I knew how to handle it, which is to sift through the pile of crap so that I can find you, that I can find women like you that are here on this boost, because you're the ones that I want to reach. And if I can reach you, then I can sift through it. I can do it.
Wow. Wow. Do any of the rest of you feel, have you had negative feedback, bullying, doxing, anything on your social media, and how do you respond to it? Anyone? Just speak.
I,
Um,
uh,
Go
I was also trying to reflect on this question, and I thought it really hasn't been so bad. Um, but it has been bad. And I think it's exactly what Anat just said it was that I feel so confident in my role in at this moment in time in what I am doing, quote, socially. So in terms of social media, that it literally rolls off me. I think if I would have taken a stance 4 or 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, around something that was considered a social cause, and I was receiving feedback that was negative or was filled with hate, I would have been devastated. But this, it means nothing to me because I am so confident in what I'm saying and what I believe and what I know is the truth. And I've always been a truth teller and a fact finder. And anybody who's followed me or knows anything about me knows that's who I am. So when I speak, it's the truth. So you can hate me all you want, but I'm just speaking the truth.
My gosh, I mean, it's Ambrose Redmoon, I think, who said, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that something is more important than your fear. You ever feel any fear? From some of this negativity, from the pushback, or does your sense of confidence of knowing who you are, does it override that? Is it the decision that's more important than the fear? What about you, Hadassah? I mean, you're so out there.
Yeah, it's a question that I deal with a lot, especially as someone who wants to be able to post child motherhood part of social media. When you see all of the hate, and it's not like, oh, you're getting hate comments. These are people that like, if I were to meet them in a real life setting, like there would be a serious threat to the safety of myself and the ones I love. Um, and it really is scary. So for me, there are a few protocols of safety that I'll always put in if it's like not posting where I am until I'm in a different place, a different city I've left, etc. We do have to be careful as Jewish creators online. It's not a safe world. But for me, what I see when I see all of the comments, and there are so many more anti-Semitic comments usually than there are Semitic comments, is it makes me understand how important it is to be a Jewish voice right now, because yes, there is more hate than there is love. To me, it's every time I see just how small our numbers are and compared to theirs, that it's even more important right now for us to be proud and loud Jews, because yeah, we will be silenced and our voice will be lost in all of it. And it's a petrifying realization to, all the biblical things, and Esav hates Jacob and all of that kind of stuff. Just you really just see it in your comments. It's a crazy thing to experience. And on the whole, like, you're either gonna love me for being a Jew, you're gonna hate me for it, and if you're gonna hate me for it, you're just not my people. So you block and ignore, and you keep on making them as angry as can be. That's the goal.
So, Beatie, as an athlete, I would imagine that you were under the radar, except that you're an athlete who is, sort of out there as a, mother of how many kids?
5, thank God.
I know, I heard 5 kids, and who runs in a skirt with a shmata on her head. So you're going to be a target. What happened when your Adidas ad came out? Did you get anti-Semitic response to that?
Honestly, I don't feel like I get a lot of I've never gotten any negative comments for being a Jewish athlete or for being a proudly observant Jewish runner, no matter where I've run. It's I've never had anyone say anything mean to me about that. What I did experience, and I do credit that to being, when you respect yourself and you know who you stand for and you're proud of what you are, people respect you for that. Like, if you're going to show up to a race and you're almost like embarrassed that you look different, so like people are going to pick up on that. But like, there's not one bit of embarrassment about the fact that I stick out like a sore thumb. It's like total pride, right? Like, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and I'm all in. I had a crazy experience with a big running influencer who basically targeted one of my trading partners. He had signed up to use him as a coach, and when he discovered that he was actually Israeli, he literally he just treated him terribly. And then I called him out on it because he's really well known, and I said, this, it's like not okay that I shared what had happened on my stories, and he attacked me like crazy. And it made me realize, like, the thing that gets to me is when people that you think are normal, like, there is a lot of anti-Semitic comments that come from trolls, like, all the time, right? And so you just ignore them. But then when there are people that are supposedly like regular, well-known people, and they're just like literally hating on you just because you're Jewish, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real deal, right? And the running community is a community that's all about acceptance and love, and it can't be tolerated, and this is not okay. And so I spoke up about it, and it inspired other, running influencers that I didn't realize were even Jewish to also share. And people have shared their stories with me of, like, a woman I know who she's a jewelry creator in the running industry, and she had customers who told her that they like didn't want to order from her because she was, Jewish and pro-Israel. And people would share all these stories, and it's just makes you realize how much more common it is in everyone's lives, and that yes, we do really have an obligation to speak out and stand up for what's right, and fight for our rights as human beings, really, for all of us to respect us, right? It's not even a Jewish thing. I feel like it's a basic decency thing at the end of the day.
I hear you. I agree with you. As I look at the 4 of you, I keep thinking to myself, I've known, with the exception of Beatie, who I've just had the pleasure and privilege of meeting today, the rest of you I've known and seen before you exploded, before the fame. And each of you have different vehicles in. What fascinates me is that your expansion of your presence in the world, social media makes a very small place, was tied specifically to your Judaism. Anat through Challah, for Challah Mom. Hadassah, through what your work for the soldiers. Dana, as a reporter, I know from working for networks, you're not allowed to give your opinion. And Beatie, even though you say that it is just, this is who I am, I show up as myself and I'm proud. To put oneself in public scrutiny is never easy anyway. And I know that the four of you are not by nature attention seekers, not in a narcissistic way. So how do you deal with it? And how does it impact motherhood and family life, the fame that all of you have? And that, Khalamam, I'll start with you.
Well, I think as many people know who do follow me, I have boundaries. And one of my boundaries is I do not show my family on social media. I heard someone say something a while back, the most precious things in life are not for public consumption. And when it comes to the love of my life and those four souls that I gave birth to, I just can't share that. I can't share that with the world because there's the Chalamam persona, which is me, and it is really a soul expression. But then there's who I have to be as a mother when I put that hat on, or as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter. Because I have a very, very personal life, it doesn't really affect, like, my kids are not really interested in what I do. I have an almost 18-year-old son. I have a 14-and-a-half-year-old son. For those of you that have teenage boys, I mean, all they're really interested in is, did I make them meat and potatoes? Like, I kill a cow every week for Shabbat, not literally, but that's what's important to teenage boys. My girls, I mean, as long as they get their treat before Shabbat and, I take them out for ice cream and they get some one-on-one time, and can I pull them out of school when their dad is traveling? I mean, real life things that I'm dealing with that don't go on social media. I do not share the motherhood aspect of my life, even though my name is Challah Mom. The truth is, mom comes before the Challah. So they do care that I do, but I will say this, is that the most important thing for me is that my kids are proud of how I'm representing myself to the world. That I do ask my sons sometimes, oh, do you get feedback, when I dance, when I lip sync, when I shake what my mommy gave me, you know? And he's like, no, I think, you're doing amazing things for Jewish people. And that's from my almost 18-year-old. So I have the love and respect and affection of the people that really, really matter to me. And I'm thankful for this community that I've been able to create. But I think the boundaries, the healthy boundaries that we all need to set in our lives in different ways to be able to support and hold close the people that we really care about. Because I've had my account hacked and deleted and shadow banned and restricted, and if my whole identity was placed upon this Chalamam platform, if that was where my self-esteem was drawn from, then I would be really a diminished person. But thank God there was a whole other life before, and there will be a whole other life after. And in the middle, if I can make an impact and make a difference, then I'm grateful for that.
Wow. It's a wonderful answer and psychologically sound and very, very important. But it's, when the kids are smaller, Beatie, you have little kids, Hadassah, you have little kids. Dana, you did an about face with the kind of work that you do. Has there been any pushback from spouses, from children, anything that makes you feel like perhaps you are too out there?
You know, I speak about fear a lot now. And we know that fear has two meanings. You can forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. And so I have eyes on me all the time, and those eyes are my children. And even though I've been in the public, even before they were born, that's all they've known, people always watching Mummy and making comments about Mummy, and Mummy became Mum. And their eyes are the most important. And they know that how they see me, how I watch them see me and perceive me is the most important, not what comes from out there. That's not validating. And so it was so important for me that in this moment that my children saw me rise and face everything and not run away from what I believed was a very, very important responsibility. And I had trouble at the beginning verbalizing to them why I was doing what I was doing, but they watched. And as they watched, they would understand, and it would open up conversations. And sometimes those conversations would be weekly. And if I tell you that they're daily, they are daily conversations. And it has become very joyous to me in a very painful moment in our collective history to be able to sit as mother and to share wisdom with my children, because they eat it up and they soak up everything, just like all of our children do. They're all watching, and they take that wisdom and they take it out into the world with pride and with knowledge, and that is exceptionally important for me as mother. But in terms of the risks, it was subconscious. I didn't even weigh it. It was almost as if it was this voice in me that said, you got to do what you got to do. And I may have had a microphone and a small platform to build on. And a lot of people don't have, physically a microphone in front of them and a TV screen, or it was a calling. And it was very important to do. So the risks had to just be on the table for now.
Beatie, I keep thinking about what it's like to have so many small children. What's the finish line, pardon my pun, for you at the end of the day? I mean, your career, your ability, your skill set requires tremendous discipline as well. How do you manage it all? And how do you include them in your day-to-day trainings and so on? And do they ever get any pushback that their mother is so out there in a community that's typically not so out there?
So actually, when you first asked the question, I found it very relevant because it's come up more and more as an athlete and trying to really reach my potential, that if I want to be successful, I have to be willing to go and train for 6 weeks at altitude. And if I really care about making it to the Olympics, then that's what I'm going to do. And obviously I care deeply about that, but I have said, and I continue to say, and I will always say, that my Olympic dream is not going to come at the expense of being a mother, and that I'm a mother first. And it's hard to realize that that has a real ramification on a personal dream of mine, because you want everything. You want to be able to do it all. And people look at me as like, you can do it all, but really you can't do it all always. And you will always have to make a choice in the moment of what is your ultimate priority. And I feel like I'm juggling a lot of things all the time. And there are two very clear priorities to me, which are really one, which is, I'm a mother and I'm a daughter of God. And those are the most important things. And so I remind myself now, when I'm at a point where things aren't going so smoothly in my running career, that that's not my entire identity, and that I'm here to be a vessel to shine the light of the Creator into the world in the best way that I can. But I'm simply a vessel for God's light. And I have to remind myself of that a lot, but it's become more natural. It's become almost like so ingrained into me that I was actually, I had a documentary come out about me, and I was watching, like, for the third time, part of it. And I felt almost like, oh my goodness, why is so much of my life being shown? Like, I don't even want that. I don't want to be out there. Like, I really don't need the validation of anyone else, but the knowledge that if I can just be the best me, if I can just bring more of God's light here, that's all I want to do. And I think that it's hard in the like daily moments to remember that, but that's like my real understanding of my purpose here. And it gives me clarity when those moments are challenging. And it's definitely, not easy. And I'm saying it like 100%, like, I wanted to do altitude training now, and I knew that it wasn't going to work out with my family, so I'm not doing it. And I have, this is my last shot at trying to make it to the Olympics. It's Los Angeles 2028, and it does mean a lot to me, but I know that I'm not going to be flying off to Kenya for 8 weeks right now, and not in the next year, and not in the year after that. I'm going to do the best I can as a mom and a wife and a daughter of God and an athlete. And if, we'll see where that takes me.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
Wow. So Hadassah, not only, I mean, obviously are you doing this, but since October 7th, you ramped up and amped up, as all of you know, that Beatie and Challah and Hadassah are in Israel. You ramped up. I don't know how many barbecues you did, how many soldiers you fed. I know you just qualified for the
Sorry.
EMT for Hatzalah, right? You just went on fire, but you have two small children.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting on any level that one needs to pick. I had a career when my children were small as well, and it was important to me. And yes, I made certain sacrifices and certain compromises in order to be able to be a good mother. But you literally ran into the battlefield, like literally, Hadassah. How did your kids feel about that? How do they feel about that?
So my grandmother sat me down at some point during the war, and she said, when the war is over, the war will be over, but your family won't be. And that is my grandmother being very direct and straight and being like, you can give yourself fully to something, but who's going to be there for you? Who's going to be holding you? And at some point during the war, I think in the beginning, it was very much a trauma response to me. Some people are fight or flight, and I was just clearly a fight. Like I couldn't sit at home with everything that happened on October 7th and just be okay. I needed to do something. It was my trauma response. But I was able to keep it going for a really long time, and it's still going, because what I realized is that as women, as we have so many different jobs, right? So many different layers, so many different things that we need to do. And I think that in the core, for most of us, the homes that have the humans that have found home in our body, be it our children, our partners, etc., right? They're always going to matter in a way more than we will as well, right? They're like the core and center, and that has to be okay. And then we have the next layer, which is ourselves as a human. And when those two things are well taken care of, then everything else can come out and explode. And I realized that I need to really lean into my motherhood this war, which is something I did more than ever with my husband being away. My husband went to fight, and he was away for over 300 days. And I realized that my children actually have so much power to refuel me if I show up as a proper mom. And I did that. I leaned into them. I needed to be a good mom for them. And they gave me all of the power I needed to then know, okay, we got this, we're good, and we can move from here. And technically speaking, like all the soldiers and the stuff that we take care of, like I make it fun. I bring them along. They come with me. It is so much fun to go choose 500 ice creams in a shop. It's really fun. And then to go give them out with mommy, and we get to go with, like, it's a family operation. It's a family ordeal. And I make sure that the children don't feel like Instagram or the Chayalim are taking their mommy away from them. Again, it's either during school time or during night times like this. This doesn't get in their way. And in truth, because I'm a good mommy, like I know I have that you're then able to give. And when you're giving but you're not a good mommy, that's when you fall apart. That's when you fall apart. So it's been a bit of a juggling game. But I've gotten really good at juggling.
Yeah. I want a final question because, of course, time is fleeting. The month, it's, Rosh Chodesh, it's the new month of Adar, and we learn that when Adar comes in, we increase our joy. It's very difficult, especially with the difficult situation in Israel and internationally. Dana and I both live in Toronto, and this is not an easy place to live at the moment. And obviously, you're literally on the front lines. Joy is such it's such a mandate for this month. And clearly, if we're mandated to do so, then it is possible to do so. So what I want to understand from the four of you is, what is your entry point to simcha, to joy? What's your fight song? What is the piece of Torah, the piece of music, the mindset that lets you enter into this month of Purim with your inner Queen Esther shining? I'll begin with you, Anati.
One of my favorite pieces of Torah is Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Love your fellow Jew as you love yourself. I will never be the Jew that turns another Jew away from Torah, from Hashem, from Am Yisrael, or from Eretz Yisrael. I won't be the Jew that makes another Jew feel insecure, less than, that they don't feel like they belong. As long as my heart is beating, I will match it to the beat of the drum. So for me, dancing is a form of resistance. It's the ultimate form of resistance against the dark and evil forces that are seeping through my phone. They are seeping through, the walls of my house sometimes. It's in my head. That's how close it gets. And I just know as long as my heart beats, I will dance to the beat of the drum. And that's why you see so much of my joy, my genuine, authentic. I can't fake that stuff. It is what you see. It's this joyful part of myself that's saying, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm here. And it's the way that I can connect to all of you, because I can talk to you about what it means to be an empowered, joyful, grateful Jewish woman who is self-actualized and made it to the Jewish homeland, but rather I want to show you. And so for me, dancing will always be the entry point. By the way, anything from Sia, Unstoppable, Bulletproof. I mean, Od Yoter Tov. If you've come to my Challah events, some of you I see here have. You know the playlist. You know what goes down. But yeah, dancing will always be.
Beautiful. How about you, Beatie?
So I really connected to this. Actually, I ran the Tel Aviv half marathon on Friday. And before the race, someone said to me, like, you look so calm. Like, what's going through your head? And I said that there is a quote from our sages. It's Rosh Chodesh Adar. We have to bring in simcha, happiness. And it says, En simcha katarat svekot, which means there's no joy like the removal of doubt. And one of the qualities of HaKadosh Baruch of God is certainty. And how can you have certainty when you know that no matter what happens from our Creator is good? No matter what it is, that's certainty. So I feel like I try and embody that idea in my mind, the certainty of knowing that everything I'm experiencing in my life, no matter what it is, it's good. It's for me. It's for my benefit. It's part of my process. I need to go through it. And that allows me to experience life with a certain serenity and joy that no one can take it away from me, And it gets deep when you really internalize it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Hadassah.
I'm listening.
Great. All right, Dana, you're up.
Okay, so as a Jewish woman who lives in the diaspora, as you said, we're in Toronto. And I say this every morning when I wake up. I say, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel will live. I say it several times a day. It's become it really is my Jewish mantra, and I really believe it. And I know that this saying is something that you say when you marry under the chuppah, which is Ani ladodi vadodi li. But because Israel is my first love, I feel that Israel is my beloved, and I have fallen in love with Israel again in a very, very, very deep way. And my joy is professing my love to Israel as a Jewish woman living in the diaspora. I profess my love to Israel every day, and it is my joy. And the more I say it and the more I feel it, the more joy I feel. And I kid when I say that, or people think that I'm kidding when I say it is spring, which means it's almost summer, which means that I will be back in my homeland. And I mean it. And that brings me lots of comfort and joy because I feel that it is now moments away as opposed to months away.
Okay, Hadassah, you get the closing words.
The little piece of that I like to ask myself kind of every day is Moda'ani, what we say in the morning. Moda'ani lefanecha, I'm grateful to my God that you have given me back my soul, and that it is pure and it is ready to go and do your work. And I like to ask myself, like, why did God make me alive today? What is it about today that he was like, okay, I need you? And if I don't have a good answer to that question, then I don't have a good plan for my day yet, you know? I think that what you said about happiness being something that is commanded, obviously sometimes we need some help balancing the chemicals in our brain, and there are certain things that can help us, and that's also a very important part about being a woman nowadays, unfortunately. But I really believe that if we look for the good, we'll find it. And as bad as October 7th is and everything that's come afterwards, there actually is always something good that you can find in every story. Someone who did survive, someone who was okay, somehow you were able to help. Whatever it is, there is actually always good if we look for it. And we've become very good at finding what's wrong. And we're not as committed to finding what's good in our day. You know, like, how is your day? Let me tell you the 4 bad things that happened, right? Like, it was the coffee we hate. It was fantastic. Like, it doesn't have to be much. Like, we don't need a lot to make us happy, but if we're looking for it and we're trying to find it, we're trying to ask ourselves, why are we alive? How are we going to matter? How has Hashem shown up for us already just by the fact that the socks were comfy and the morning kind of flowed, you know? It's little things. So for me, it's muda'ani. And trying to ask myself, find something good in this moment, and usually I'm able to find one, and then we're happy.
Ladies, honestly, I just want to thank you so much, Kalamam, Beatie, Dana, and Hadassah. I have to give you a bracha. Like, we'll pretend it's Friday night and you're my daughters. May the Almighty bless you and watch over you. May the Almighty shine his face towards you and show you favor. May he be favorably disposed towards you, and may he grant you peace. May you have the strength and the clarity to continue to be the Jewish queens that you are. May we all be inspired to up our games, even in the smallest of ways, to be part of the change that we all need to see in order to understand and to activate our own inner Esther. And we're going to provide you some resources for it, all of you. There are some tremendous film suggestions and resources. You're going to see them on the screen in a minute. And if you go into the chat, you're going to notice that we have a link where you can grab all of that and you can send it, you know, and we'll send it along with the recording because everyone will get the recording, and you'll notice that there'll be a link to the movie with Queen Beatie, and you can watch it with your family before Purim. It's a good thing to do. And we have a Purim slide that you can have a look at. And we'll show you that too. And if you want some in-person action, you don't want to miss our Momentum Fellowships because they focus on real, tangible leadership skills for communal leadership that we all need right now so that you can be part of the change within your communities. And on behalf of Momentum, whose hashtag has always been, it starts with women, and founded by our original director, our founding director, Lori Palatnik. And on behalf of all of us here, we thank you for joining us, for elevating and celebrating these Jewish sisters. We love you. And we wish you a great day and a good evening wherever you are, to stay strong, increase your joy. Yisrael Chai.
Yisrael Chai.